If you are new here, I am Katie, and me and my husband moved from Northwest Ohio to East Tennessee. We have been living here for about 6 months, and we are currently living in an RV full time. With that being said, I'm going to give you 3 tips for living in an RV in the cold weather. This is what we have done. This is what's worked for us. Everybody's situation is different, and everybody's weather is different depending on where you are at. But let's get to tip number 1. I have this 100-gallon propane tank. As you can see, we have it strapped to the camper so it doesn't fall over or the wind doesn't knock it over. It gets really windy where we are at here. It has been very nice to have this so we don't run out of propane. We have 2 smaller tanks that we have as backups, but this is our main one we normally use. Tip number 2 is this heated water hose that we have. By the camper, there's a thermostat, and that's when the hose comes on and off. When it gets below a certain degree, the hose comes on, and we just have it plugged into a regular outlet, and it works really well. You can see here that there's snow on the ground, and their snow is melted where the hose is warm. So I would definitely recommend a heated water hose. There are cheap water hoses and there are expensive water hoses, and there's different lengths you can buy. I bought a cheap one to begin with, and we had to return it because it leaked. So we went and got, I think ours was $150, and it's been working great so far. But like I said, they are a little pricey, and I've seen some of them go for $300. I'm not sure why, but this $150 one seems to be working for us. And to me, that's a non-negotiable when you are RV living, and that's, you need water. You don't want your water to freeze before it even gets into the camper. That's a whole nother discussion, but the heated water hose will help your water from freezing, and it's been amazing. So heated water hose for tip number 2. This is kind of another little tip, and I'm just going to throw it in with the heated water hose. So hydrant insulator. I didn't even know there was such a thing. We've never camped when it was cold, like full time like this. So I'm like, didn't even think about covering the hydrant, because the hydrant can freeze. And we seen our neighbor at the campground that we were at cover his hydrant, and we're like, we probably should get one of those. So I believe he took heat tape and wrapped it around his hydrant, and then plugged that heat tape in, and then put this insulating thing over his hydrant. But we had just got this insulator thing and put it over top of the hydrant. So between that and the heated hose, it's worked for us. So you need some kind of insulation for your hydrant, and I know different ways depending on how cold your climate is where you're at and just how much insulation you want to put around it. But these little bags, it's just a thing that slips over the hydrant, and you draw the string and it kind of keeps itself warm. So those have been really nice as well. We haven't had an issue with hydrants freezing. Tip number 3 I have is to have a backup heat source. If you are RVing in the cold weather and it gets below freezing for days upon days, you need to have, a couple different sources of heat, because if one source goes out, then you have a backup to your other source. And we haven't need an issue for backup, but we substitute. And by that, I mean we have this electric fireplace here that you can see, and we don't run it as a primary source because it won't keep up, and it's not meant for that. Run this and our propane furnace together, so it helps our propane not kick on as much, and our fireplace shuts on and off as well. So between the two, they work together, and it works great for us. We also have an electric eat-in pure heater. I'm not sure the brand of this one. It's wore off a long time ago. This is a heater that we use to heat our house in Ohio with, and we have it plugged into our bedroom, and it keeps our bedroom nice and warm, and it does help our furnace not kick on as well either. So that is what this is right here. Now, we have the electric heater and we have the fireplace, but I will tell you, if we are going to be gone for like a day at a time, or we're going to be gone for 2 or 3 days at a time, we do not leave the electric fireplace on, and we do not leave the electric heater on. To me, that's just a fire hazard, and we just leave our propane on. If we're going to be gone for 2 or 3 or 4 days at a time, we usually just leave our furnace on, and we drop it below like 60 degrees so it stays warm enough in the camper to not freeze. But yeah, it doesn't need to be like super warm in here because nobody's in here. And again, I'm going to stress this again. This is just, we've done stuff that has worked for us. Don't leave a heater unattended. I am here 95% of the time. So I'm able to watch this heater. If something smells or if it's not acting right, same with the fireplace, I turn them off, or I'm here to turn them off if something were to happen. Like I said, we don't leave these things unattended because we know it's not safe. So tip number 1, a big propane tank of some sort. Yours can be, you know, whatever size you would like, but having that extra propane tank saves us from having to run out of propane. Tip number 2 is the heated water hose and some kind of insulation to cover your hydrant. And tip number 3 is to have a backup heat source in case your main one decides to go out. And yeah, that is just our tips for cold weather camping. This is what has worked for us this winter. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.